hey, what's up, y'all? This is Paul C. Tiarina, nutritional therapy practitioner, lifestyle and performance coach with the SHT out of Las Vegas. And I'm here again with Delancey Prince.
Hi, I'm a clinical dietetics student and I have about a year of experience working in cookware and kitchen retail.
Cool. Where at?
Sur La Table.
That's right. Love that place.
Yeah.
Yeah. So today, what are we talking about?
Today we're going to be talking about cookware. So we're going to talk about the worst cookware you can use, the best cookware you can use, the do's and don'ts, the must-haves, the things you can skip on.
Yeah, absolutely. And so our intention for you is to walk away from this understanding what's the best cookware to get, and then what are the best items to get.
Absolutely.
All right, cool.
So I think we should first talk about what you should avoid. So the number one material that I think of right off the bat is Teflon nonstick cookware. I'm sure you've heard about it, even if you don't entirely know why Teflon cookware is not good for you. I'm sure you've heard about it in the news.
In the news, on social media.
The controversy, yeah. So obviously nonstick cookware is awesome and we all want to have great nonstick cookware. And I think a lot of cookware brands have responded over the years and have produced a lot of cookware lines, so on and so forth, including Teflon cookware. And the whole issue was there's a chemical known as PFOA that was supposed to be burned off in the manufacturing process. But as years went by, we realized that that was not the case, and health officials began finding PFOA in Teflon cookware.
Yeah, so it's like one of the most persistent toxic chemicals found in human bodies, even of people that don't use non-stick Teflon cookware.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
And I think World Health Organization ranked it as a carcinogen, and they have this really fascinating issue with birds that come into contact. So the issue with Teflon is when you heat it up, it gets into your food. Sometimes you'll see little chips in your non-stick cookware. Where do you think that went?
In you.
Yeah, you ate it. So, but then also when you heat it up, the fumes from it are also toxic. So we see this phenomenon with birds. If they fly through the fumes, they die from that fume poisoning, and it's called bird Teflon toxicosis or something like that.
Wild. Yeah.
So this is one of those things that we're all about making this work in a modern lifestyle, and we're all about giving some concessions for convenience. But if you have Teflon, we'd recommend getting rid of it and investing in something a little bit better quality for sure.
Yeah. So Teflon is out. Another material that I would recommend you stray away from is aluminum. I think the issue with that is that it's toxic as well, and it's leaching into your food. You mentioned the toxicity levels in people's blood as well.
It's a known neurotoxin, contributes to all kinds of neurological problems and mental health issues, and also contributes to Alzheimer's over the long term. Another one of those chemicals or materials is found in most people's blood work. Yeah. And then what were we mentioning before about?
Well, I know that Sur La Table and a lot of chefs have strayed away from it. It used to be super popular because it was so cheap and so easy to work with. But I know when I was going through my training at Sur La Table, they had mentioned that you're starting to see that less and less.
Yeah, I noticed on a lot of cooking shows and channels and YouTube videos, like old ones have aluminum, new ones have stainless steel.
Yeah. So it's good that it's kind of going out of style, but still just be wary of it.
Cool.
Yeah. And then
what do we got next?
The other material I want to mention, probably the least evil of the three, but something you still want to be mindful of is copper.
Yep. So copper toxicity can be an issue for some people. Yeah. There's an issue with the copper leaching into food, and there's some nutrient imbalances that can potentially happen. So if you have high copper levels, you want to balance that out with high zinc levels, and most people might not be nutritionally sufficient or eating real food the way that we're eating.
Right.
So to kind of mitigate that whole issue, we'd say probably best to stay away from copper.
Just mix it all together.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool.
So moving into the better materials, these are the materials you want to look for. Right off the bat, I'm going to think of enameled. For me, personally, I always think of enameled cast iron. So Paul has an example right here from La Creuset. What I personally love about enameled cast iron is that it has all the benefits of cast iron, but it's enameled, so you don't have to maintain it as much and take extra good care of it, which I personally love.
So it has really good heat retention.
Yes.
The surface is not completely non-stick, but it's pretty close and easy cleanup.
It's a good payoff, you know, good balance.
So surface is completely non-reactive, which means there's nothing that's going to leach into the food. And most of them can go from stovetop to oven, right?
I love to do that. I have a skillet just like this one, and I love to sear like steak and just pop it right into the oven to finish it.
Cool.
Yeah.
And so usually relatively expensive, but worth it because you can gift this to your kids.
Yeah, they're often family heirlooms. I know my mom is passing hers down to me, so Yeah, they're awesome.
So brands, La
Creuset Stove is another one that we see at Sur La Table a lot.
Lodge has some enamel cast irons now.
And then you mentioned Amazon.
Yeah, Amazon Basics has some that are relatively inexpensive. So.
Right, yeah.
Awesome.
And then moving on to the next material to look for, as I mentioned earlier, just simple cast iron is really great. I love cast iron because it's so durable. Like I said though, it does take a little bit to maintain and season. But honestly, I've had chefs tell me in the past that you can literally find a cast iron in a dumpster. And if you care for it correctly, you can bring it back to life. These things do not die.
My dad has actually done that. He's found one in a dumpster and then took those stainless steel Brillo pads and cleaned it, and then we re-seasoned it, and it's freaking great. So
they're the bomb.
Yep. So same as the enamel cast iron, holds heat really well, really good for searing. But it has to be maintained the right way and cleaned the right way. So for some people, especially people starting out, that might be a little bit too much of a pain.
And it might be confusing. But if you get like a nice routine down and you know how to care for them, they are awesome.
And then same thing with that nutrient issue, because we have the potential for iron to leach into the food. Could be beneficial for some people, but if you have iron overload, then that would be something that you definitely want to avoid.
It's up to you. It's personal. Then we're going to move into stainless steel. I think this one is really popular because it's less expensive too, and it's pretty durable. I know at Sur La Table, all of the chefs, we've kind of moved towards that as our go-to base kind of cookware that we'll use. Stainless steel. It's really great.
Cool. So inexpensive, durable. Takes some skill if you're going to use it, like especially if you're doing like a skillet and something with high heat. Because I remember when I started out, I had nothing but stainless steel, and my eggs would always stick, and my meat would always stick. So there's a little bit of talent that's involved with that, depending on what you're using.
That's the one trade-off. It's going to be less expensive, but you may have to use a little more butter. You may have to use a little more oil, and you got to be careful about not putting it on too high of heat.
Cool. Awesome. So if we had to summarize all that, we got one more.
One more brand that is a personal favorite of mine.
You turned me on to it.
I love to talk about it all the time. And this is just because I've had so much experience with it, and I absolutely love it. For non-stick cookware, that's what it's marketed as. And that is a brand known as ScanPan. So ScanPan, Paul actually has an example right here that he just bought. So this is like a new one.
I love it.
What's awesome about ScanPan is that, well, first, they are a Denmark-based company. They're family-owned, and they were actually the first brand to come out with nonstick cookware that didn't have PFOA in it. Plus, on top of that, the nonstick quality is not necessarily a coating at the bottom of the pan, but actually is the materials that are used to make the entire pan.
Right, so we learned it's a blend of titanium and enamel.
Or ceramic.
So it is the pan.
It is the pan, So
and that's what makes it non-stick. So
because the issue with coating is like you're using certain utensils, especially if you're using like hard stainless steel ones, it may chip off the coating, it may wear and tear over the years, but with this one, it's part of the pan, so you don't have to worry about that.
So super durable, chef recommended. All the chefs at Sur La Table love it. And recommend it.
These actual pans came from Sur La Table in their cooking classes. So these are ScanPans that have been used for 2 years. Like 3 times a day, every day.
Chefs and newbies just
beating them up, and being properly cleaned, being improperly cleaned, everything. These pans have gone through it all. And I mean, you can see they've been used, but they still hold up. You may need to use a little more butter and oil, but I mean, for the home kitchen, for like a home chef, these are durable. They're great.
So we love it. For a non-stick option, highly recommend this. You can use all utensils on it, but we still recommend using silicone and bamboo.
Oh yeah, totally.
Cool. So if we had to summarize all that, ScanPan for non-stick. This is the only non-stick option that we recommend. And then enameled or enameled cast iron would be a really safe bet, and a little bit expensive, but it's something very easy for most people to use because it's easy cleanup. Relatively non-stick, not as non-stick as the ScanPan.
It can be a family heirloom. You can pass it down. It's going to stay in the family forever.
And then we have cast iron, which a little bit more difficult to maintain, but still a really good recommendation.
And cheaper than the enameled cast iron.
And then stainless steel, we use it for different things. I mean, inexpensive, have to be careful with high heat cooking.
But an inexpensive option if the other options are just not for you.
So then let's make some recommendations as far as like which things to get what, right? So I'm all about boiling this down into something super simple for everyone, right? So if you're starting out, these are the things we recommend. First of all, we don't recommend getting those huge sets of 1 million different sizes of everything, right? Because that's just too complicated. And you're not going to use most of that stuff. What I recommend is everyone needs a skillet. So the skillet can be either a Scan Pan nonstick, or it can be something like the Le Creuset or the Lodge enameled cast iron, or the Amazon Basics cast iron. What was the other one you said? Stove?
Stove.
All right, so everyone needs a skillet. All right, this is what I do the majority of my cooking in, is a skillet, and ideally that's going to have a lid. And then what we recommend is everyone have a saucepan. So a saucepan can be stainless steel, because this is what you're going to be using to heat up water, to boil water, to heat up bone stock, and maybe make some simple soups and sauces and things like that.
Right, and we mentioned that stainless steel is also great too, because you're not as concerned about the nonstick quality here as you would be with like a skillet.
With the skillet, Yep. So another highly recommended piece of equipment would be baking sheets.
Totally. Very versatile. You can use them for potatoes.
Oven roasting vegetables.
Yeah, there's so many different things you can do.
Cool. So we'd recommend stainless steel. They do have stainless steel ones out there. I love my stainless steel baking sheets. We were talking before, a lot of people for convenience like to line their baking sheets with aluminum foil.
Yeah, exactly.
So we'd mentioned before, aluminum might not be the safest thing to cook with all the time, but for convenience, if you want to line your baking sheet here and there with some aluminum foil, that might be okay.
Yeah.
And then, if you end up wanting it at some point down the road, we'd recommend most people at some point invest in a roasting pan. And the roasting pan would be for roasting what?
I immediately think of like turkeys on Thanksgiving dinners.
Big pieces of meat, really.
Yeah.
And you can also throw in vegetables and things like that.
Yeah, big like vegetable medley you could do in the oven. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So again, starting out, maybe just purchase things as you need them versus trying to go out and buy everything at once.
Oh yeah, don't do that. Yeah. No,
so in the beginning, like definitely having a skillet, a saucepan. 90% of what I do in my kitchen is going to be skillet and saucepan, and maybe some cookie sheets, baking sheets.
Yeah.
And then over time you can start to add to that, but you won't need much more than this.
Nope.
Now we did mention before, honorable mentions, some gadgets, right?
Yeah, some gadgets. We were trying to categorize, what fits into cookware, and we came across a few gadgets that were like, they're involved in the cooking process, but we're going to make an entirely separate video for them. But we're going to just mention them now. So Instapot and then crock pots.
Yep.
They're involved in cooking. They're cooking your food.
They're not cookware, but they're cooking gadgets.
They're cooking gadgets, yeah. So we're going to mention them here now for you guys. But stay tuned for that.
Cool. Awesome. So thank you for tuning in. Let us know if you have any questions.